Now remember, solving quadratic equations using complex numbers, complex means they involve an I, or an imaginary number. So if we have x squared plus 81 equals 0, we don't have to put this in the quadratic formula because there is no middle x term. So we just say x squared equals negative 81, square root both sides to get rid of the squared, and x equals, remember that if it has a negative, it becomes out as an I. 81 breaks down to a factor tree of 9 and 9, so we get 9i, but remember, if we square root, we get plus or minus. So to write this a little bit better so you can see it, plus or minus 9i, so this imaginary answer would be our two places where this is equal to 0. Kind of interesting to think that we can have imaginary solutions. X squared minus 5x plus 13 equals 0. Quadratic formula, we'll write it up here to remind us. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So, putting things in, a of 1, b of negative 5, c of 13. So that means if I'm putting these in, I have negative b. Well, b is a negative 5, so to negate that, it becomes 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared. So negative 5 squared is 25 minus 4ac all over 2a. Well, x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 52 all over 2 gives us x equals 5 plus or minus the square root of negative 27 all over 2. Well, negative 27 breaks down into 9 and 3, which is 3 and 3. So we have a pair. So that means we get x equals 5 plus or minus, one pair comes out, the negative comes out as an I, and the last 3 stays under the root. So we end up with this imaginary answer because of the negative. We end up with 3 because of the pair, and we end up with the 3 here because there's 1 left over. And this would be our final answer. Let's try one more. So x equals negative b, positive 2, plus or minus negative 2 squared is 4, minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus, this is 20, which produces negative 16 under it. Well, 16 is the same thing as 4 times 4, so we have this pair. So we can rewrite it as 2 plus or minus 4, because of the imaginary I, all over 2. Well, everything can be reduced by a factor of 2, so we get 1 plus or minus 2i as our final answer.